This is the President McCormack Podcast with your host, Mark McCormack.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast today. Ian Smith. I'm so excited you're here.
I'm excited to be here.
I was just telling you how excited I was that you're here.
Yeah, it's cool. It's life is wild, man.
Yeah.
Life is wild.
I'm kind of fun, like full disclosure for people. We've known each other for 4 months, 5 months. When did we jump? Till July? Whatever.
Time's irrelevant.
So, I mean, we've literally seen each other twice in our lives. And one was in Iceland.
One was in Iceland.
Which was so random.
One was on the edge of a cliff.
Yeah.
And the other one was in Iceland.
Yeah.
At a cafe. Yeah.
Which is so, I don't know, if you want to call it destiny or whatever. I don't know.
Synchronicity.
Yeah.
Life is happening and synchronicities are what you make it.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of stuff is happening that has meaning or it doesn't have meaning, and we're just trying to figure out what that means or what it doesn't means. And so because we're proactive participants in our life, we made Iceland happen.
Yeah.
Because we could have easily been there a different time, and then months later found out, we were there at the same time. But we chose to step into that and make it happen. Yeah. Or I did, and you chose to be there. And instead of just like being reactive, I think being proactive provokes a lot of what people would call weird synchronicities. But it's like you just got to, once you open your eyes, you start seeing stuff.
Yeah. And see, one thing about me is for a few years now, probably 5 or 6 years, I've tried to be very present in everything that I'm doing, right? And I honestly wake up every morning and just try and crank that level up even more, right? Just like in the moment. Because I've found the more you're in the moment, the better your memories are, the more present you are in the future, you're just more comfortable being in any situation that you find yourself in,
just practice.
You're just living in that moment thing, right? And I just think life is better. I guess if I was to just boil it down, life is better if you're just like, I'm right here, right now. This is amazing. What are we doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What do you like to do?
It's not, if you have some time, watch the documentary for Bill Murray. Oh,
I didn't know there was. He's my favorite comedian of all time.
He's not in it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, he is a little bit at the end, but this guy was like, he heard these stories about Bill fucking Murray.
Yeah.
And where people are like, Bill fucking Murray. Yeah. And he does this thing where he was filming a TV show in Europe or in London, and the people on the show, or not a TV show, a movie, and they were like, he's going to go, he just leaves and he just walks down the street, and he walked into a house party and he walked into the kitchen, and he's like, what are you guys doing? You have so many dishes. And so he just started doing the dishes. And people are like, Bill fucking Murray is doing the dishes. And he went up to somebody, he's like, they were playing a kickball game, and he walks up and he's like, hey, can I play kickball? And the girl's like, no, it's my turn. Bill fucking Murray. Yes. And so he was interviewed about it, and he said, I've been blessed in my life to be somebody who just by showing up causes people to wake up. And he's like, some people get up in the morning, they go to work, they go to bed, and they get up in the morning and they go to work and they go to bed, and they don't wake up. And just by being present with me, they wake up. So if I can share that with people, that's amazing.
Oh, I love that.
And so for us to choose to awaken and to kind of say, hey, I'm not going to cruise through this. I'm not going to let my subconscious programming guide me through the day. I'm going to choose to be present. I'm going to let my conscious be present and kind of help me program and help me be aware and create memories and like deep rooted stuff. Yeah. It's like, that's what you're talking about, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, and the Iceland thing was kind of funny too, right? So, we're kind of in a structure, but we're also kind of living by the seat of our pants with Jimmy, right? And so, for example, right, like we were supposed to go to this one restaurant and it was either closed and we're trying to find another one, this whole thing, right? And then we heard rumors that you and some buddies or whoever was like in Iceland, it was like, oh yeah, the guy from the cliff, And I was like, oh, Ian. I'm like, he's here? Like, what the hell is he doing in Iceland? You know what I mean? Why am I in Iceland?
Yeah.
That whole kind of like thought process. And so we go to this restaurant and I'm inside and we're kind of eating, or I think we were ordering or something, right? And I was just, oh no, we had finished eating. And I was just like, I'm kind of sick of being in here, you know, like I'm kind of done talking, like whatever, you know.
Your energy for that situation, it
expired, right? And so I just go outside, I'm kind of sitting there, right? And I'm just like, I mean, kind of like a random, like no purpose thought, right? Other than go outside and kind of cool down a little bit. And you came bopping up in your freaking van. And I was just like, bro,
yeah.
You know what I mean? We talked for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You were on your way to do whatever, dude. And it was like, dude, but it was like one of those things where it's like, it like made my day better.
Nice.
You know, like I saw Ian, saw some of his friends, saw this crazy van. Cause you were there for like a month or like 3 weeks.
For 15 days.
Okay. 15 days. Okay.
Living in a van with my friend and his roommate.
Yeah.
And then we picked up somebody else and it was like intimate would be a good word for it.
Right.
It was cozy.
Well, how cool though, right?
It was amazing.
Yeah. And it's like one of the, I don't know, highlights maybe might be too much. I don't know. Cause there's a lot of highlights in that trip, right? But it was
that was definitely a highlight.
Yeah.
Cause if we had just gone there and done the normal touristy thing, it's full of great highlights.
Yeah.
But to tie in some home to that, right?
Yeah.
Or some like other people it's just another piece that's digging a deeper memory root.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, definitely a highlight.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Also, it's funny. I've talked about the cliff jump thing because people love that, right? The whole thing down in Moab, the whole swing, you know,
it's a surreal. I'm very fortunate to have been like blessed to be part of that.
Yeah. Because you guys are kind of like little mini celebrities now, right? Off of that. Have you got to that level yet?
I wouldn't say that I'm there. I would say that the rope swing is the celebrity because people do it and they're like, I hear about it.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, the rope swing. And I'm like, yeah, that's me in the video.
Yeah.
I'm the last person they see.
Yeah. Yeah.
The first person the new setup is like, I'm the first person they see or the last person they see before they jump off. And I'm the first person they see when they come up. And that is one of the most rewarding things I've ever done.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Just, it's beautiful. And so the rope's the celebrity.
Oh, okay. I don't think so.
Thanks.
Yeah. But my experience, here's the funny thing about the rope experience with me. You know, there's a bunch of dudes that have done it now, 100 dudes from the We Are the They, right? And so everyone talks about the swing and how they felt and all this kind of stuff. You and I had like a beautiful moment on there that I was just not expecting.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you only did what you said. We'll talk about that in a second. You actually did that with a few people because Jimmy asked you to let them
deal with their
experience
demons.
Or whatever, right? Yeah. And whatever.
It works. It's different. That experience is it's going to bring some stuff up.
Yeah.
And I've told other people, it's like the people that just walk up and they're like, cool, and they jump, that's amazing. And I'm stoked. The people that have to fight through some shit to get off that edge, those are the people that I'm like, I felt that.
Yeah.
I felt that.
So tell me from your perspective, how did it go with me? What did you think about me?
Big dude, confident, like coming out, let's go. And I see that and I'm like, there's some of those guys come up and they just handle it. And then some of those guys come up and they're just like I'm maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I'm starting to see like the false bravado and then the real bravado where they're just like, they're going to handle it. But even some people that it's like they have a false bravado about it, they still step off pretty quick. And so it's everybody is on such a unique journey, and that's something else, like expand that into everything. But it's like being able to step up and just kind of like, okay, I'm terrified, but I'm still going to do it. And that's like, I got that energy from you. It was like, this is pretty scary. Let's go. And it's like, all right.
That's pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I'll have you interject through this whole story whenever you want.
In the nicest way possible. I've done this, maybe 500 times.
Yeah.
And so, and I don't want to devalue this.
When you say you've done it, you've actually jumped?
No, I've jumped.
Being a facilitator, right?
I've facilitated 500 jumps. And so to remember the clarity for each and every one of them, it's like it gets diluted.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I having this conversation, I need to potentially spend a little bit more time remembering each of those moments.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's like, but somebody's like, yeah, you threw me off the cliff. And I'm like, yeah, I don't remember it very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I go on.
Yeah,
I do remember your energy though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, and that's fair. You know what I mean? Because it's like, especially with our group, right? I got all these freaking dudes and we're doing all this weird stuff. We're all chanting it before we go out.
Well,
there,
and
right?
it was like, we were just turning and burning.
Yeah.
We did over 60 people that day.
Yeah.
And it was like, and each of them was just this awesome moment.
Yeah.
And it was just like, bam, bam, bam. Dopamine for me.
Yeah.
Just dopamine hit, dopamine hit, dopamine hit.
Well, so I'll give you a little bit of background on me. So I had refused to do it. 100%.
I remember that. Okay.
Yeah. I refused and I had woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning up until midnight. Right. I was just like, Jimmy actually gave this speech and I was like, I don't give a shit what you say. I'm not doing this. Like I am an immovable rock if I want to be.
But what created that? I don't need to do this. I don't have anything to prove.
Yeah.
I don't have to prove to you guys that I can do that. Like I'm confident in my own reality that like this cliff isn't going to make me like change anything for me. And it's like, what's that?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I thought that too. Even as I jumped, like, I don't remember thinking, well, what you said to me actually changed my mind. That's why I'm very happy we're going to talk about this.
Good.
Because even walking up to the cliff, it was more of a leadership moment for me where I was like, hey, I like Jimmy a lot. I like what he's trying to do with this group. It's an early in the group thing. In 5-10 years from now, there might be a lot more meaningful things that happen, right? And I was like, dude, you got to jump off this cliff, you asshole, right? Like, you're going to be a jerk if you don't do it, right? Because then there'll be a couple dudes that will lean on you and not do it.
That'll follow your lead.
In fact, there was a couple dudes that were just like, I can't believe you did it, man. Now I have to. And it's like, oh, you have to. Like, I woke up before and I have a CPAP machine, right? So I like pop this thing off, right? You know, turn it off, taking a pee. And I'm just like, and that's where the epiphany hits me. It's like, just do it. Just shut your freaking mouth and do it. Like of all the times that you can control your life to the nth degree, today you're just not going to control it. You're just going to do what everyone else is doing.
Trust that this random dude,
who I didn't even know existed yet,
is going to clip in and be like, you're safe.
Oh yeah.
The anchors, the anchor, we got it.
Yeah.
Trust that we did our job right.
Yeah, exactly. And so we show up, right? And there's 25 of us, right? Because we split the group in two. And like, I'm not even looking out into the canyon because I don't want to do anything that's going to take my mental focus off of me just doing it and getting over with. So there's a couple dudes that were just like, well, I'm going to go first because, you know, I hate the anxiety. And I was like, no, I'm going first. And they're all like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, I just said it's so matter of fact. They're like, okay, you know, like no big deal. And dude, when we were strapping the harnesses on, and I actually remember you being real smiley, right? Like this kind of friendly.
I can't not smile.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's absolutely good. It takes the nerves out of it, right? It's just like, okay, I got this guy. I can talk to him, and like we just.
My energy is. I spent a lot of time. And I'll remind me about the message I got from my sister later.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of work. And knowing who I am and how I've showed up and who I've created myself to be, to create a safe, grounded, because I know you're up here. People are just like boom, 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 boom. Their heart's going, their brain's going. Don't look off the cliff. And I'm like, hey, bring it down.
Yeah,
we're good. It's grounded. Let's ground this energy. You're gonna be okay.
But you absolutely did.
And I love it.
Yeah. And it was so much fun. Like
it's an amazing experience.
It's crazy. It's funny. I'm remembering. I'm actually feeling the feelings I was having during it too. When I tell this story, I try and make it fun for people so they're not like, you know.
Yeah.
And so I remember, if you remember, right? So I made everyone circle up like an NFL team.
Yeah.
Right? Remember that?
We started rocking.
Yeah. And I put Ryan Bingham, who played in the NFL, in the middle, right? Because I actually went up to him as we got there. It just dawned on me, right? And I go, Ryan, I want you to do a favor for me because Ryan and I are good friends, right? I said, my dream is to play in the NFL. I'm like, this might be the most intense thing I do in my life, at least currently, for sure. Because you can't just match the energy of like running out into the NFL field.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was like, this might be close. And I go, just indulge me, right? Just give me the freaking what's his name? The guy from the Baltimore Ravens.
Ray Lewis?
Ray Lewis. Yeah, I was going to say it right. Just give me that energy, bro. Just give me the freaking, we got a fucking job to do today. Blah, 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 blah. You know, just like give it to me as hard as you can. Let's go, right? And I had my harness on already, right? And you even gave us a speech before, like how we're going to do this. We're going to step, run, blah, blah, blah. I'll talk to you.
This.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, we're good. You go. And like, we're doing this thing back and forth, and I get in the moment, right? And I'm like, oh yes. Like I'm getting the freaking like
the
chills and the whole thing,
about.
right? I'm just
Everybody was synced up.
Yeah. And Ryan's looking at me and I'm moving everybody, and I'm just like, this is so cool. This is so cool. And he's like, bring it in. We all go in, dude. The second we hit the middle of that, dude, my nerves shot to 100, which never happens. Right. Awesome. I'm never at 100 on nerves. I go to surgery, no big deal. Yeah. Life's life. I got to deal with everything at a pretty even plane. And dude, in my head, I am screaming, don't do this. Right. Do not do this.
Your ego, your body, your soul, your everything is just like, what we tell people is like, when you get close to that edge, you're going to feel intense pressure against your chest. Mm-hmm. That's thousands of generations of evolution that didn't jump off a cliff.
Right.
Because the people that didn't reproduce. Yeah. And so we're programmed not to do this. And when you get close to the edge, every fiber of your being is saying, hey, I want to live. I want to live. And you got to fight through that.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
That's 100% true. Right. And so you're like, you're going to stand over here and I'm going to be, you're already clipped in where I got to go. You call me up. Right. So as I'm like walking, I'm in motion, right? I'm not just standing there being like, oh, I'm frozen or anything. I'm like walking over and I kind of like stand in that spot. And like, for a second, I feel like I wasn't paying attention to you. Then I looked up and you're like, I was like, ooh, like, okay. So I'm just like walking up there, cause it's easy to kind of go through like what you're supposed to do. And we get up there and you're talking to me and you're like, yeah, remember, blah, blah, blah. Right. And so take it over from this point. Like, what did you say to me? Do you remember?
I'm gonna.
Well, you just say what you remember. Yeah.
So what I remember is I was like, what I said to a couple different people is like, I'm the old you. I'm everything that brought you to this moment. Because the good, the bad, the suffering that you went through, the old habits, the bad habits you're trying to get rid of, they brought you here. And you need to say thank you to me, but you don't need me anymore. I like that, those protective walls that you built up, they got you here and they serve some purpose, but it's time to let those go. And so tell me thank you. Thanks to the old. And we're good now. And tell me to get out of your way.
Yeah.
And
do you say that after you buckle me in? Or yes, before?
Because it's, and one thing I also say sometimes is like, have you seen dog races or horse races or a dam? It's like, I am the thing that's stopping you. Yeah. And as soon as I get out of your way, you're like a dog out of a gate and you just got to go.
Yeah. So you didn't tell me anything about the dog, but what you said before is almost verbatim.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, it's just get like me moving, it allows that energy to like move forward into the new you.
Well, when you clip in, the thing that's funny, so the pressure on your body is whatever's going on, right? So like it's just normal gravity, basically. You're walking around, you're close to a cliff, you feel heavy, you're like, I could fall off this thing, like you have all this stuff going through you, right? And I got this thing screaming like, don't do this, right? And you're like, how, like whatever, dude, like where I'm here, what I mean? And you're like right in front of me, dude. And you clip the first clip in, right?
And I'm like,
and it's like, whew, okay. Second one goes in because there's 4 of them, right? If I remember.
There's 2. Well, there's 3. So we have
Was it 3? Okay.
We had the slack on the side, and then the one up and the one down to like cross that.
Okay. Yeah. So you click those all in, but it's funny because you're kind of holding it right and you're struggling to clip them in. And as soon as you kind of like let me feel the pressure, dude, it like pulls you like, which I was not expecting. Who knows why, right? And I was
because that's a normal thing not to respect.
Well, you think you're dropping.
Because you're dropping,
not getting
but
pulled,
the rope is pulling you, the weight of the rope and everything. Yeah. And there was somebody a couple weeks ago and she's like, I'm like, you're going to feel the weight of the rope. And I clip it on. I was like, resist it. And she's like, stop pulling me. And then she looks down and I'm like, she's like, oh, that's the rope. And she like, her fear like went up because it's like that energy, something else, not a human. Yeah. Not me. You can't blame me. Yeah. You did this. You clipped into this, and now it's trying to get you off this cliff.
Oh yeah. That when the rope pressure was applied, that was the real moment for me. I actually thought there's no going back now. Like up until that moment, I could have been like, Ian, it was nice meeting you, and just like turned around, right? Yeah, like you're a good guy. I like your smile. I'm out. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'm in complete control at that moment. But once you clip me in, and it's probably too because I was like, there's no way this dude's unclipping me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm next to a cliff. Like, even if he wanted to unclip me, he wouldn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and then I remember, and then you say that thing to me, dude, and it was so intense. It was like gentle and intense, you know, because I'm like, okay, you could be all my old stuff. I mean,
yeah, I just
like
made
processing it, you know.
I made that up that morning. I didn't really understand the group and the energy and what was happening. It was just
really?
a big group of people.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, oh, this is like an amazing men's workshop where these guys are dealing with some demons.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let's deal with some demons.
Yeah.
Like, let's give them this moment. And like, how can we make this moment a moment?
Yeah.
A highlight, you know, dig some deep memory roots and like something that they can lean on for, you know, future moments when it's like, one thing I say to people is like, I can't remember what book it's from. So much of what I think and say is just like, I read a book and I remembered. And so I stand on the shoulders of giants. One thing I say to people is I was like, you can do hard things. This is hard. But you can do it. And they're like, I can do hard things. And I'm like seeing this battle. And I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Oh yeah. And it's, being a participant's interesting too, right? Because you say that and I say, you know, I go get out of my way and you literally just move out of my peripheral. Yeah. And then you just stand there at the edge of this cliff, right? And with me, I just took one step and jumped, right? Because I wasn't going to wait and think about it, you know?
It gets harder and harder, man. I've done that. Oh, I've been the person on the cliff that's like, what am I doing? Like, I don't have to. And like, my body won't let me and all of these things. And it's like, yo, you just got to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I joke with people, right? Because no one filmed it. I had one person on the side that filmed it. So you see me drop 12 feet and I disappear.
And that was before we kind of coached people through how to film it.
Well, then I didn't even know that you would film it for people too, right? Like, honestly, biggest regret in life, not handing you my phone. Because that's the best thing. It had nothing to do with you. I just didn't even know it was an option. I was just like, because all the guys were messing with their drones. They weren't really working. I went first, you know, and I went too. Because we were just quick. Like,
and a lot of people don't expect that.
Yeah.
And it's even the people that get up there are like, I just had to go. And they have this moment of like, the longer I wait, the harder this is going to get. Yeah. So they just go.
Oh, for sure. See, and once I jumped, right, or fell off the side or walked off the side, right? Let's call it what it is. I didn't Superman off that thing. I remember, like, I was probably down 15, 20 feet. Who the heck knows, right? And I remember thinking I had no stomach problems. You know what I mean? I wasn't like woo or anything like that. It was all in my head. And I'm like whooshing down, right? And it's loud because the wind's kind of getting you. And I remember thinking like, dude, I can't believe you actually did this, you know? And I'm kind of holding the rope, right? And then I remember thinking, why hasn't this rope caught me yet? You're just like flying down, right? And then it catches you, and, you know, it's all serene and it's beautiful and all that stuff, right? And I don't know. What I really want to say to you is the most impactful thing from the whole thing was just you saying that to me. And I didn't really have anything to let go of except for the actual moment of surrendering to doing things that are good for you, or like just do it.
Yeah.
Like, just surrender to this moment and do it, and just shut up, get out of your head. That's what I left at the top.
Nice.
You know, so, which is weird, right? Because it's all enclosed in that little moment. You know, it wasn't like I was like, oh, you got to stop cheating on your wife. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have that bull crap, you know, or there's some weird business thing you got to like get your head around. I was like pretty linear with all that stuff. It was like that actual moment of just enjoy life and do things. You're here to jump off of a cliff. Just freaking do it.
Didn't drive all this way for nothing.
Yeah. You know, and there's parts of me that would have been totally fine sitting under that tent all day and cheering people on, you know? But I just, it was cool. It was cool just to let it go.
Let it go.
And I remember thinking of you guys. I'm like, this is kind of cool for them because they get to see all these guys kind of do their, I mean, some guys come up absolutely bawling.
Terrified.
I mean, after they jump, they come back.
Oh,
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, man. Like, people crying at the end of the, like, crying is part of life. And I think everybody should strive to do it once a month at least.
Yeah.
Happy cry, sad cry, guttural cry at a commercial, cry at a movie, cry, you know, at the sunset, whatever it is. And so people going through all that stuff, and like, there's a lot of truth at the end of that rope, because the way I describe it is like, on my Instagram, one of my videos, you see me jump off and my arms just start flailing. And I remember looking at my arms and listening to my body, and my body was just like, you killed us. What are you doing? And I looked at my arms and I was like, that they were trying to grab onto something.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, that's not helping. You're okay. And my body just was like, I don't believe you. And once that rope catches and you're just like, and then your body's like, I'm alive.
We live. Yeah.
I'm so alive right now. And like my pupils are in, like, I would love to record somebody like get into their eyeballs because their pupils have to be huge.
That'd be interesting.
And it's just like, you're so alive at the end of that rope and just that feeling. And then imagine if you hadn't jumped, right? And then you're driving back in the car and everybody else in the car is just like level 10, just talking about it. Oh my God, that was amazing. And you're just like, yeah, dude, it was really cool watching you guys do that.
I felt that moment recently. So when we were in Iceland, right?
Yeah.
All the guys wanted to go do a cold plunge, right?
Yeah.
Not every one of them. Some like 4 or 5 guys stayed back.
I think
right?
I recommended the spot.
Oh, you probably did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did it.
Because I was just following them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That little like kind of encode.
You hike over this thing and down into the, yeah.
And so like, I was kind of down to do it. I got a towel and everything. And we kind of got there and I was like, I don't want to go sit in this flipping thing for 5 minutes. I've been cold for 5 days, right? Or whatever bullshit excuse I put in my head that day. And I was with new guys and who I really liked. And they all go walking out there and I'm kind of filming it for them and every freaking person did it but me. Right. And in the moment I didn't give a shit. I was just like, no, I don't care about a cold plunge.
Your ego's protecting you.
Yeah. I was like, I've done cold plunges, blah, 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 you know, and they're getting out and they're laughing with me and they're kind of hugging me, you know, cause they're all kind of wet and not really like freaking frozen. Right. Yeah. And I was just like giving them it back, you know, it was very playful and fun and I was still included, but, we started driving back and they started talking about it, you know, and they didn't even really do a cold plunge. They all just kind of floundered in there. It was freezing and they kind of got back out.
Yeah, no.
I thought we were all going to be in there like bobbing heads.
No,
you know what I mean?
When I did it, I was in and out and I was like, that's another level of cold.
Oh yeah. And I'm watching all these guys, my friends, my brothers, my guys I'm having emotional experiences with, right? Yeah. And we're driving back and I'm like, you screwed up, dude. Like you literally screwed up. I'm just totally in my head. Like if people were talking to me, I wouldn't even know because I was just like off in my own world. And I'm like, why did you waste this opportunity not to do this? Like a couple nights before we were up in the hills, it was going crazy. We took those monster trucks up there, you know, we're trying to see the Northern Lights, but the storm's bananas, right? I don't know, 60-mile-an-hour winds or whatever, right?
Which was its own beauty.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we kind of make the most of it. 2 guys would whip their shirts off. You know, we're getting pelted by hell, right? So I whip mine off. I'm like, oh, you boys ain't having a shirt off party without me because I love doing that stuff, right?
With bond.
Yeah, and it was fun. We all bonded and like people were taking videos, we're yelling that we're Vikings and we're just screaming and singing and like just stupid for 5 or 6 minutes, right?
Letting go.
Super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, letting go. And that was before we did the freaking ice bath thing or the plunge or whatever we want to call it. And like, but like I'm bonding with these guys and we're all, you know, like grabbing each other and it's free. It's just kind of fun. It's stupid. We put it on Instagram, you know, just like doing dumb stuff. And as I'm driving away and I'm thinking about this and I'm like, dude, man, you missed an opportunity. Don't do that again. Just do it. You're trying to be in the moment, right? Just be in the moment. You're not in these pictures. You don't have your stupid smile on with all these other guys, right? And everyone knows, even though they all like you, that you excluded yourself from this moment, right? It was I haven't actually really spoken to anyone about it until right now, but it's like, man, I actually feel excluded.
Yeah.
And I excluded my freaking self.
Well, and I think before we started recording, we were talking about that book, Stealing Fire, and the communicas and the vibration and the energy. And there's one part in the book where they have a husband and wife in different rooms and they're both wearing backpacks with speakers in them and they're watching a flower bloom and close and bloom and close to this at a just what they think is an arbitrary rate. And come to find out it was their partner's pulse and it was pulsing through the speaker at the same time. So it's less visual, physical, auditory, just this pulse. And they looked at like the EKGs and the heart rates and everything and they like synced up. And so it's this communicas, it's this connection. You guys were on the same wavelength. But all of those guys that got in the cold plunge, their bodies are on a similar stasis, and your body is different. And so you were literally separated from that group on a physiological level, and you were excluded because of the choices you made.
Yeah.
And so you're sitting there and like, you're just on a different wavelength, which is in certain situations good. But in a lot of situations, it's like, you know, FOMO, but it's not FOMO on the rope swing. It's not FOMO on the ice bath. It's FOMO on the connection that you create with the people that you experience it with.
Yeah. Spot on.
And so you were just like, wow, I, for whatever reason, self-protection, ego, I don't want to get cold. I don't want to be uncomfortable.
Let's throw it in laziness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like,
lazy.
well, but laziness is just, I think it's connected to the ego. And it's just like, I don't want to, and you can't make me. And I'm me.
Yeah.
Instead of we. And it's like, okay, let's just like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be part of the group. I'm going to connect, which is part of the reason we're here, is connection.
Yeah.
So.
And me, I'm so funny with it too, because if I would have committed before, I'd have been the first one in, and potentially one of the last ones out.
Oh,
you know, because I'm just like, because I'd be enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
You know, like I'd go grab a dude that hadn't jumped in yet, that was worrying about it, being like, all right, man, we're doing this together, bro. You know what I mean? Like leadership type stuff if you want, but more fun, playful, like, you know, if you're in, you know, like that's the kind of stuff I like to do. Like if you notice me after the cliff jump thing, after I went, it was so easy for me to just cheer everybody on.
Yeah.
You know, there's a couple dudes that are kind of struggling with some stuff, and I had some like actual side conversations with them. Not that I'm the freaking Dalai Lama or anything, you know.
But even, and don't say that, don't discredit your power, because you, like any nudge in that right direction, no matter how small, is a positive motion. And
True.
So you were helping.
Yeah, I was helping. Sure. Yeah. And it was, I guess I kind of discredit it a little bit just because it's selfish a little bit too, right? Because I get stuff out of it, or I feel like sometimes it's selfish.
I was having that conversation with Dakota, is there's no such thing as a selfless act.
Right.
It's like, even when we help people, we get a little validation that I'm a good person. And that's why we did it.
Yeah.
That's why we do everything, is just to reaffirm who we are.
Yeah.
And so you were just like, and that I was about to question, like, you're a leader, you're, you know, through life's conditioning, you've been put into this role as a leader. When's the last time you let yourself be led?
Right.
Instead, like, cause you're like, I would have been the first one in, I would have been the last one out. It's like, why not? Like, why is that important to you? Like, why not be the middle? Why not be the one that gets encouraged? Why not be the one that gets led, that you let go? And it's like, oh, I'm going to let you. For me, I like to drive. Right. Because I have control issues. Yeah. And it's like,
we are the same in that.
Yeah. And it's like, no, like you drive. Like, I'm just going to sit here and do nothing. Like, let you lead.
I could answer that question, and it would take a podcast and a half probably. Yeah. Let's talk about it actually. Cause we had a group of people together one night. Right. And we were talking about this stuff and talking about philosophical things. And I was asked the question, how are you always on? Right? Because there's certain aspects of my family that I lead, my small family, my extended family, my friends, the people that, you know, I own a couple of businesses, so that my employees, people are kind of drawn to me sometimes. Like there's a lot of leading that I do, and I don't know. I know why for some things, and I don't know why for others, and I just let it be, because I like the beauty of unknown too, right?
It feels good.
I don't need to sit down and figure out why. You know what I mean? At least I don't feel like I need to. And we were talking, right? Because, you know, some guys are like, I have a hard time being motivated, and, you know, in this group that we were talking with, and it was like this. And when it got to me, I was just like, I can't fail. Like I'm in a world where I can't fail in certain things. It doesn't matter, right? Like being a husband and a father, right? Like I'm killing things to make sure that my kids are taken care of, right? Up, down, can't fail.
Well, and I'm about to take a tangent.
Yeah, do it.
If we want to put a pin in that. You posted a long time ago about your son, and how he was like, I don't know you. And I was like, ooh, woof. Like the empathy in me was like, man, And when you say you can't fail, it's like, you're a provider. Your kid doesn't want for material things.
Yeah.
But he, as somebody who wants for a dad, your son wants for a dad.
Yeah.
And it's, you're always on, you're always like, okay, I got this. And we miss stuff, and that's okay. And you are failing. And that's the point, is we can't, a missile doesn't set a target and not fail. It fails a million times to correct the course to hit that target.
Yeah.
And so it's okay to fail.
I'll tell you about that post. That post is interesting. Okay. I like to be very real, especially in conversation, right? Like if you come and talk to me, I'll talk to you about anything.
Sure.
My failures, the shit, the great, the whatever you guys want to talk about. I'm totally open to that stuff, especially in a one-on-one environment, right? That day, so I'm a little overweight, right? I could probably kick 30 pounds off me and be healthier, right? You know, because I want to be healthy. I want to be here a long time. You know, I want to do that kind of stuff. So that particular night, I'd gone to the gym and I wanted to go home, and I spend a lot of time with my kids, funny enough, right? That's why that thing hit me so freaking hard. And I'm like, I think when you have kids, you kind of feel like you're always failing at some level, and you probably are. And it's a balancing between like living my own life and then being there for them. It's just a lot, right?
I mean, that's a,
yeah. And everyone, and it's not unique. I feel like I'm very ununique with it.
Every
right?
parent.
Yeah.
I've heard like every parent goes through this phase when their baby's asleep in the room and they're just like I'm fucking up.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's a baby.
Yeah.
Right? Especially being a dad, right? Because you don't do much with babies.
There's the psychology of the disconnect, like the bonding with the mom and the baby is the first, breastfeeding, this, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You can't do anything.
Yeah.
Like, get out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is mommy's time. You can have it later.
Yeah. It's been like a year, like 2 years. And this kid isn't.
Yeah. So that day that I put that post up, I had like a decently rough day at work. When you're at the top, I only deal with problems. No one walks in my office and goes, "Great job." You know what I mean? There's no one above me.
Hey, you're doing a good job.
Well, thanks, man.
Proud of you.
Thank you. But so after work, you're a little exhausted. It's kind of the mental thing, right? You're just like, oh, it's a day. And I'm like, I'm going to go to the gym. So I went to the gym, working on the gym, and Michelle, my wife, is like texting me, "Hey, you want to go grab a bite to eat after?" No, I want to come home and do nothing, right? So I say yes, right? I'm like, "Sure, babe, where you want to go?" And she's like, "Let's go to Goodwood," right? I'm like, "All right," and I'm almost sick of Goodwood. It's one of those things where I'm like, I just want to come home. Thing. You know what I mean? Like, so
I've done that,
but they want to do that. And the family wants to go out and the kids want to be with me and they love going to restaurants with me. Right. And I like to order food with them. And especially good with my son, we always split a thing of ribs because that's what he likes. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's all,
he doesn't give a shit about the ribs.
Right. Yeah. Probably not. Yeah.
He wants to share with dad.
Yeah. Yeah. Him and dad are eating the same thing, and I'm like, cool. Also with my son, we slept in the same freaking bed for like 2 years. Like, it's crazy, right? Anyway, so I've got all these things going on in my head and I get there and I'm worn out. I'm sweaty. I'm in gym clothes with whatever, but I'm at this restaurant and we're sitting there and I let him tease me all the time, right? Like, he flips me off like every morning, right? He thinks it's hilarious, right? And I'm like, yeah, whatever, but he does it out of fun. He doesn't even know what it means.
He does it out of love.
Yeah, he actually does.
How old is he?
He's 10.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because he does it and he gets a reaction to me and I tease him and we wrestle. It's like this whole thing, right?
Connection.
Yeah, we just laugh and smile. He literally has no idea what it means.
Sure.
And he knows it's inappropriate, so he knows it's fun, right? But other than that, he has no idea. And so as we're sitting there for dinner, man, like if I remember, I asked my daughter, I go, "Hey, do you want to be married?" And she's, "I don't know if I want to be married." I was like, "Oh, why not?" I just let him say whatever. Whatever their thoughts are. I don't even really try and guide it. And she's like, "I don't know. I like my independence," is probably not what she said, but I want to be a movie producer. That's like her big thing, right? And she goes, "Well, Nixon wants to be married." And I go, "Oh, why do you want to be married?" And he's like, "Oh, I want to have a wife and I want to have kids and I want to be a stay-at-home dad and I want to be with my kids all the time." I was like, "Oh, that's cool, man." And then he goes, and then Bray goes, "Yeah, ask him why." And I go, "Why?" And he goes, "Because I don't even know you, Dad. And I want my kids to know me." And I was just like, dude, it was like a bullet hit me right in the chest and the face at the same time. And I was like, oh,
Shotgun.
And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know me? And I kind of start going, I'm like, bro, I go to like all this and this and this. We talk every day. I make you breakfast every morning. And he's like, I know Kevin Hart better than you. And I was just like, dude, it was like the knockout punch of like this. And I'm just getting my ass kicked. Yeah. And literally, dude, if I would have been alone and watched that on video, I would have bawled my eyes out for probably 10 minutes. Right. Cause it was like a fake confirmation of all my fears. Right. Cause he actually doesn't feel that way, which is funny, but it was like,
there's a lot of truth said in jest.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know where he was all at. So I'm like sitting there, dude, and I'm like fighting back the tears. So I had driven separately, right? Yeah. So I actually hustled the dinner along and got the check, paid it, told them I love them. I'll see you guys at home. No big deal. Went and got in my car, which they normally all ride with me anyways, right? Because they hug me. Every time I come home, they're all over me, right? Just like I had good relationships with them. And so, and dude, I'm driving home and I'm just like, did that just freaking happen? Like, did he actually say that to me? He knows Kevin Hart better than me. And my daughter's like, you don't even know who Kevin Hart is. And he's like, I saw him in a movie one time. And he's just saying random crap. It was really what it boils down to. And so, but it was an awesome universe gut punch to where I was like, oh, so literally for like 3 months, right? Well, I'll go back for a minute. So I come home and I'm by myself still because they were a little bit behind me, and I go to take a shower, right? And I'm sitting on the freaking toilet and I'm just like, I'm going to write about this. And I just made that post. Okay. And, I said exactly what happened, how I felt. I put a picture of Kevin Hart up, right? Because it's kind of funny,
Who's this guy?
Yeah. My replacement, Kevin Hart. Yeah. And I get in the shower, and I like to sit in the shower and kind of think for a minute, So I was in the shower for probably 30 minutes, just letting the water kind of pound down, washing, whatever, smelling the, kind of thinking. It's like my meditation moment. Sure. And I'm in there and I'm like, dude, go erase that post. You freaking seeking validation from other people /
it's the ego.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, dude, I got out, dried off, put a pair of gym underwear and gym shorts on. I grabbed my phone to delete the post 100%. Cause I'm like, a bunch of people are going to say they love you and you're a great dad and blah, 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 blah. Right. I'm like, and it doesn't matter. Cause that's not what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with me. I'm dealing with what's in here. Dude, I had 5 or 6 missed phone calls with voicemails, tons of posts on there. I might not be exaggerating with 20 to 30 DMs and a slew of texts. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, so many people reached out and most of them were like, thanks for posting this. I feel the same way. This is hitting home. Yep. It wasn't like, you're the greatest dad ever. Like, don't worry about what he says. He's just a little kid. Almost none of that. It was mostly like, this one was impactful.
Yeah.
And it shook me a little bit because I was like, what? Like, why is this hitting home so hard?
Because it's real.
Oh yeah. And so I don't even know if I responded that night or if I waited till the morning. I probably responded to a couple of them that night. And dude, I was like, man, okay, this one's going to sit. Because if this is, I want to say it's helping people, but if it's like
100% helping people.
Yeah.
You're showing them this goes back to leadership. It's like vulnerability takes courage, and that's some Brene Brown.
Yeah.
And people post about the positive and look at this and look at this. And it's like, but then they post about, like, some people post about the negative and like, oh, this is me crying. And I'm like, it's that feels the same. But there's the real where it's like, hey, this is what I went through and I'm processing.
Yeah.
And people are like, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And it's like, this isn't an answer. This isn't an expression. This isn't permission. This is just me telling you some truth.
Yeah.
And the connection, people said, I feel that. Like, oh, I felt that. And it's like, I felt it and I see it. And like I see examples of that where people are like, going back to the rope swing and the We Are the They, there's a lot of guys. I was like, what's your why? And cause the second time the group came back, that was what I asked a lot of people. It's like, what's your why? And a lot of the whys were extrinsic. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, and one of the guys came up to me and it was his third time jumping. And I was like, what's your why? And he's like, my first 2 whys were extrinsic and this one is intrinsic. I'm realizing I'm not showing up for my family. Like what is showing up? Showing up is a great term. What does it mean? It means something different for everybody. But it's like showing up for your family sometimes means keeping a roof over their head. But I've talked with a lot of people that would trade so much to have their dad give a shit about how their day was on a deep level. And like, what are you going through? Like, what was the highlight of your day? What was the low light of your day? As opposed to just like, you don't have, you know, you have new shoes. It's like, cool. Like, I would rather have my dad.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, shit I deal with. Where it's like, you know, my friends were like, when I would grow up, my friends like, yeah, my dad's making me do this, this, and this, and giving me chores. And there were moments where I was like, yeah, it must be nice to have a dad like give a shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, what does that mean? It's different for everybody, but you showed people the same thing. It's like, you think you're fucking up, and you are. And there's never a time, like, there's no perfect way to raise a child, but there's definitely a lot of ways to fuck it up.
Yeah.
And just try to do less fucking up.
Yeah.
But, you know, give them the tools to deal with it on the other side, because you're not going to always be there. And so show up for your kids. Yeah. What is that? That's our only biological prerogative is to reproduce. And if you choose to do that, you better respect what it means, because you're building a human. Yeah. And that human is going to laugh, it's going to cry, and it's going to, you probably see so much of yourself in your son. And that's because from the moment his brain turns on until like age 7, when he switches from theta waves, you're programming him and you're teaching him positive, negative. And that goes back to what we were saying earlier, maybe not on recording, but it's like we program our kids to like sports. We program our kids to like, you know, certain colors or you know, how to be happy, how to express joy, how to express sadness, when to express it, when it's okay to express it. It's not okay to cry in this moment. It's okay to, like, don't do that, or do this. And it's like, we're building humans, and you better respect it and show up for them. And your kid was probably joking. He knows you. Is there a piece of him that wishes he knew you in a different way? I'm sure there is. Will you ever be able to assuage that? That's his journey.
Yeah.
And so.
No, I agree. I definitely took the lesson out of that. You know, so it was funny. So like for the next 3 months, right, I was just like every morning, I'm like, where was I born? You know, blah, blah, blah. What did I do yesterday? Where do I work? I was just like quizzing him down. Like 100 question test, he should be able to get 98% on the thing, right? And he just going and being like, Dad, why do you ask me this all the time? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I want you to know me. I go, what's important to me? And he's like, me, your other kids, and your mom, and like, you know, you love your wife more than anybody else. And I'm like, yeah. I almost is like slamming some affirmations into him and all my kids actually, because I get up every morning with my kids. I spend a couple hours before I go to the office. Right? That's kind of, I started doing that years ago, and that's the best thing for us. And but he even said to me, he goes, you know, Dad, I was kind of joking, like, you know, Kevin Hart, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, we're past that, man. Like, it's okay. What you said to me there is totally fine, but you are going to know who I am, you know, like in all levels. And he's like, okay, you know. And then I started coaching him in football, which I didn't really want to do because it's an insane time commitment, but I ended up doing it because I was like, no, like I remember that moment and it's in me now. And it's like, just like I'm trying to say yes to everything in my life, I'm going to say yes to being your football coach. And if I miss a couple practices, whatever, right? Because that's life. But like, you know, you're going to know that your dad was at all your football. He was your coach, you know what I mean? And all these kind of things. And even though that moment was hard and it's easy to dismiss, I'd rather hold on to that moment and then just keep that as kind of like a little anchor inside my head where it's like, what if your kids really didn't know you? You know, like what if that was like 100% true? Like, yeah, let's never go there. Yeah. Let's make sure that's 100% wrong.
Right.
You know, and that's kind of what I took from that moment and kind of implemented.
It's beautiful. Yeah. And it's like, there's things in my life where it's like, oh, you're like, they tell you you're something, and it's like, okay, I'm going to spend time disproving that.
Right.
And it's like, thank you for saying that. And now I'm a better person because of it. It's like, I have a theory that I'm working on, that there's no such thing as negative criticism. It's like all of it's positive. Even if it's like somebody comes up and says, Ian, you're not this. And I like believe that I am. And like 10 other people are like, no, you are. And it's like, well, that one person didn't think that. And am I okay with them not thinking it? Sure. But what caused that perception? Am I okay with like just bringing understanding to any scenario? It's like, yeah, just take it as a grain of salt, but don't ignore it.
Yeah.
So
no, I like that a lot. It's one thing I've learned over my years is, I have this saying that I coined, hopefully, and it's that the wise don't wander, right?
The wise don't wander.
And what I mean by that is they don't wander in their minds, right? Like they're not just wandering all over the place. I wonder what this person thinks or what this person thinks. And like, they're just so influenced by everything external instead of being, because wise people don't worry about anything.
Okay. I thought it was like wise. What are your whys?
Oh, no, wise,
Yeah,
W-I-S-E.
right.
Yeah.
The
wise don't wander.
The wise.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you are wise, you will not wander. I should say it that way. Yeah,
Focus.
See, I'm still working on it.
And no, beautiful.
No, I like that. See, even that feedback right there, right? It's okay, if I say that and someone thinks it's wise, like, what are your whys?
I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it makes no sense. Yeah. No, it's good. It's great feedback. And it's kind of what you're going, like any feedback, you take any feedback and you self-reflect, because people who have wisdom, who are wise, you self-reflect all the time.
I know nothing. I have a lot of theories. And one of my problems, because of insecurities about my education, is that I've learned, I think, to speak with such conviction about some of the things I say that people think that that's an unshakable truth that I have in my mind and you can never challenge it. And it's like, no, everything I think is a theory.
Oh, that's my entire life.
It's like if you have but I'm not gonna be blown over by a weak wind. Like, my roots are deep, and if you can come at me with some powerful knowledge and show me that you trust and believe what you believe in, and it stands up to my devil's advocacy, then I can say, okay, this guy knows. Yeah. And so I'm going to take that and be like, okay, I need to re-evolve my theories, because they're all just theories. I know nothing. I'm just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, no, I feel the exact same way. There's certain things I've actually wrecked friendships unknowingly, because when I speak about finances per se, right, investing strategies, I say it with so much conviction that people are like, oh, you know what I mean? Then they're like, well, you think that you're never wrong, and blah, blah. I'm like, oh, I can be wrong.
Yeah.
You're just, I'm not gonna get knocked over by a weak wind. I love that.
I don't know where I heard that, but I like it.
Yeah. Well, that one might get tattooed on me.
Yeah. Roots run deep.
I mean, exactly. It's I'm a thought out person. Yeah. So if you want to come at me with something that's different, then let's discuss. Yeah. But don't come at me with some weak freaking argument just because you feel something.
No, you're like, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything.
Yeah.
Somebody smarter than me said that.
Yeah.
And
I've heard that one before. Yeah.
And it's like, do your research. Let's talk. Oh, you want to discuss? Let's discuss.
Also, do your research, have your theory, and then go live it for a minute before you bring that shit to my doorstep. Because I don't want to hear anything that hasn't been learned and lived.
And I got so much. I've got a lot of living I need to do. It's like you can watch a ton of YouTube videos and read a lot of books on how to drive a car, but until you get behind the steering wheel, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I've got some of those that I need.
Well, see, I'd even take that a step further. There's one thing about driving a car from A to B. There's dealing with problems while you're driving a car.
Sure.
That give you, do you really know how to drive this thing?
What if this happens? What if this happens?
Have you driven a car up in the hills on a snowy road, a big truck? That's way different than driving on the freeway.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's kind of you have to experience some bad to appreciate good.
Well, you have,
because if your life's always good, it's actually just neutral.
Well, and that's when I hear people say that they're like, oh, my childhood was great. Like, I didn't suffer or want or whatever. I'm like, oh, so you don't know how to suffer.
Yeah.
Like you're atrophied in the fact that you weren't like, it was Joe Rogan said, he was like, most of my good friends come from broken homes and rough childhoods. And he's like, I'm worried that my kids aren't suffering enough because I've taken care of it. And it's like, am I preventing them from developing a personality that I would want to hang out with? Because, you know, suffering creates.
Yeah. No, that's 100% true. I think I have that same worry sometimes, right? Like my kids, I actually tell them all the time, I'm like, I call them little pampered asses, right? I'm like, you guys are so pampered. They're like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? Cause I have like we have like people come do our yard, and cause I don't want to spend my time doing my yard on the weekend. I want to spend it doing either with my kids or some other activity that I want to do. Right. And so I've got to create other situations for them to learn work ethic, and which we do. They come to the office and they do certain things, and the older they get, the more they're going to be with their dad and actually come to like some of the higher level things that I want them to learn quickly. Right. But my kids, they didn't grow. I mean, they have like chores and they do like some of that normal stuff, but like yard work in particular, right? They just have never really done.
Have you heard of Booker T. Washington?
Yeah.
So his biography, when he founded Tuskegee, a lot of the slaves that came to his school were like, they're like, we're not going to do all the landscaping done at the school was done by the students. And all the construction done at the school was done by the students. And students came there and they said, we're above that now. And he said, no. He's like, you need to understand this is work.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between like sitting at a computer and crunching numbers, which would be my nightmare. And like going out and mowing a lawn, which I could do. And there's a pro and a con to both of those, but understanding and experiencing, and it's like, and again, this is a situation where I don't have kids.
Yeah.
I have a lot of theories. I have ideas, and some people are just like, Ian, shut up, you don't know. And I might, they might be right. I might not know. In that situation, maybe if I may, have your kids mow the lawn once, just to kind of understand, like, because maybe one of your boys is you're like building him up to be this like entrepreneur, moving numbers, working in an office, doing this, that, and the other, and he's like, Dad, I just want to, you know, build things with my hands. Yeah. And it's like give him that opportunity to experience that, and maybe I imagine you don't want your kid to be a lawnmower for the rest of his life, but
honestly, I don't care.
Well,
yeah,
but give him the opportunity to kind of like test that out and be like, yeah, that was fun, but I definitely don't want to do that. Yeah. Like, cool. Now, you know.
See, yeah. And I grew up with a couple of my buddies, and they still do it. They're roofers. Right. Oh, nice. So when I grew up, I started working for my dad's company, which I ended up buying, from 8 years old. Right. And it's hard labor. It's everything, right? It's a construction company. So I could be in the office or I could be out. Right. And so when I was growing up, though, I went and worked with my buddies who did roofing for 2 days. And I'm happy my dad let me go do it, right? Because I was just like, oh, this is way harder than the shit that I do. Yeah. And it is like on a roof, and you're just
the
like
angle, the pitch, the heat, the this.
Oh, yeah. And it was funny because they mostly do commercial, right? So it's, throwing down fiberglass and lifting heavy shit and taking it up multiple stories to whatever the top of the warehouse is, and ladders and all the stuff I don't really love. I don't know if you know this, I'm not really a big fan of heights. But, just like rubber and tar, and like it's just dirty and freaking grimy, and sometimes I got to shovel rocks. And so I worked from one day on a commercial roof, right? To which I was so scared about going up and down the ladder that I made them get me lunch and bring it up, because I was like, once I go down this ladder, I'm never returning. And then the next day, we actually went and did shingles on like one of their family members' houses they needed some help. Yeah. And so me and one of their workers and my two friends are twins, right? Yeah. And so we just go and we knocked a roof out in like 6 hours, like the whole thing. And these boys, my friends, dude, they're just some of the hardest, fastest workers you've ever seen in your life. Yeah. And I've been joking my whole life about it. I was just like, that was a very stark reminder of, I don't want to roof the rest of my life. And they're still roofing. They love it. You know what I mean? But it's like, but I'll give them props all day. I'm like, this is freaking hard work.
Have you seen Shawshank Redemption?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
When they're on the roof and they're just like, that's heaven to them.
Right.
And that goes back to, you create your own reality.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you going to do? Because you better be happy.
Yeah.
Like if you're not happy, change something or find out how to be happy doing it.
See, and that's really where I'm at with my kids. I want to teach them about relationships. So I challenged myself a little while ago to write a book, and the book's going to be called Likability, the most important characteristic. And I've got all sorts of, content to put underneath that, right? And so, because I just think the overall concept is, if you're likable, right, because you're honest and you're, you do what you say and you're competent, you like can't take some of those things away, right? And you're fun to be around.
Yeah.
Because if you don't like people who are not honest, no matter what.
Sure.
Right.
You can, and on a subconscious level, you feel it.
Absolutely. Especially in business, right?
Yeah.
You can't work with people you don't think are honest. You just can't do it, even though they're fun and they're competent. Impossible, right? Now, someone could be fun as hell and honest, but if they're not competent, you can't work with them either.
Sure.
Because you can't, something you can't trust, but you can't. You can't really trust that they're going to accomplish what they say they're going to accomplish.
You can trust them to not accomplish what they're going to.
Exactly. You can trust them not to steal from you. You know what I mean? They're going to lie to you, but then also not, you can't trust them enough to go get the task done. And so I really focus with that on my kids where it's like, hey guys, this is your life. You can do whatever you want. Like my son, because me and him talk all the time, right? So the other day we're in the car and he goes, hey, are we rich?
I love that question.
I go, I'm rich. You ain't nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
My brother has had
okay.
that same conversation.
Yeah. And I heard it from Shaq the first time to give credit where it's due,
Exactly.
Yeah. Shaq, he has a little speech on that.
A giant that we stand on the shoulders of.
Yeah, absolutely. He's an amazing person.
I could tangent off on something he said. I was like, bro, all who wander are not lost, but those who don't wander are truly lost.
Yeah.
And I think he said something recently. I was like, Shaq, you got some work to do.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Anyways, going. Yeah. But so when I bring my kids to work, I want them to learn. I have this thing where when I counsel people or consult them or whatever you want to call it, right? Most of the time it's unpaid. But when they're like, I want to build wealth and I want to build, I hate the term generational wealth, but people are currently saying that, right?
Well, you want to create, I read a book recently called Killing Sacred Cows. And it's like, if you have $100,000 in the bank account, that's great.
Yeah.
But if you have a continuous residual income of X amount, that's better.
Yeah, exactly.
And so generational wealth is, I want to create something that will continue to produce money.
Yeah.
So that it's, because money is a confusing thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, money can't buy happiness. It's like, yeah, but have you ever had I can't remember the band. Have you ever had the joy of a welfare Christmas?
Oh, it's like, Everclear.
Everclear. Yeah, that's
Father of mine. Yeah.
That song gets me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like generational wealth it's don't shame it.
Yeah.
But
my thing with it is people say it wrong. That's my biggest problem.
Okay.
Is they go, they've got their negative $300,000 in net worth. And they're like, I get up every day and I'm just focusing on, I'm going to create generational wealth. And I'm like, how much money is that? Well,
what's the number?
Yeah. Because generational doesn't mean your kids. That means 3. Okay. So you're talking about giving your grandkids money, or some sort of an asset, really, is what they're trying to say. What are you building? Well, I'm just trying to make as much money as I possibly can. Well, that has nothing to do with generational wealth.
Yeah. How are your grandkids going to benefit?
Yeah.
From that?
That means nothing. Also, the only way you're really building generational wealth down to your grandkids is if you control the asset when you're dead.
If you create a trust that will prevent your kids from fucking it up.
Right.
But also and that goes back to parenting. Mm-hmm. It's like, are you working I work hard. Something that I don't like is when people say, I work hard so my kids don't have to. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, so you're not teaching your kids to work hard?
Yeah. Oops.
Like, you're preventing them from exercising the muscle that's going to take that wealth and continue it through the generations.
Yeah.
It's like creating it's like, I have this trust set up because my kids are I don't want my kids to fuck up the funds. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, then stop focusing on the funds and start focusing on your kids.
Exactly. That's my main point of the whole thing. Right. So I'm trying to kind of circle back. I'm trying to teach my kids that their net worth is the important number to work on weekly, monthly, yearly, not how much cash you bring in. Okay. So when I started doing this about 25 years old, I just did a personal financial statement, right? And it gave me my net worth, right? Then I would adjust things inside that world. Some of it is to make more money, right? You know, like get a different career, move to a different job or something like that pays you more. That is part of the equation, but a very small part of it. It is, okay, I added 2 more rentals this year, right? Or I bought 10% interest in this company. Now my net worth is here. And as that keeps growing, that is what actually creates generational wealth financially.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does, but it's counter to it. Not counter. It's interesting compared to what that book, Killing Sacred Cows, says, is because when you buy a investment property, something that creates residual income, the value of that property is locked, and you can't do anything with it until you liquidate it. But its ability to produce a positive income is more important, potentially, than its value. Is because its value is a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bushel, and the net worth is in the bushel, and in the hand is like the goose is continually giving you golden eggs. And so how many golden eggs can you create? How many gooses can you create to continually give you golden eggs so that you can use those golden eggs and purchase more assets? And it's like,
well, that's exactly what I mean.
I think we might be saying the same thing.
Yeah. You would take the cash flow off of it and then take that, and you wouldn't just burn it and eat it, right? Or go on vacation or whatever, right? You would take that and continue to grow that net worth,
the dividends.
Right? And part of that though is to live your life, is to have entertainment, right? So if we were talking earlier about having a Ferrari, right? People are like, oh, my goal is to have a Ferrari. I'm like, that's an idiotic, stupid goal, right? Yeah. Because you have to, what the goal really should be is I want to have a net worth that can afford a Ferrari, right? And by the time your net worth is there, you'll never buy a Ferrari because you don't want to rip your net worth out.
Yeah. And you understand that, like, it's like, I will pay to go ride in a Ferrari, to like drive one on a racetrack, because driving one down the freeway doesn't sound like a lot of fun.
It's not, especially my size.
Yeah, exactly.
It actually sucks. But it's funny because you look at like building wealth, and you want to be like, guys, you can have experiences and enjoy things. And if you're a car guy, by all means, if that's your goal, buy yourself a Ferrari, right? I get that can be a goal inside the system, but to create that power of a system, right? That's my main thing when I talk to people. Is like, you're just creating a system, right? But that system has to be managed, right? And that's what I mean by generational wealth. You can't have grandpa being like, okay, I've got to compensate in my will inside the trust for morons, right? For drug addicts, or like, people who are privileged, or whatever word you want to put in there. They're going to wreck the system that I built. I'm not ever going to do that. I have a trust. When the trust falls, my kids are in charge of it, right? They actually have the choice to break it into 3 parts or to keep it moving, right? I will advise them to break it, right? Because it still needs to be managed, right? So if I buy a bunch of commercial property now, in 50 years from now, it'll be dilapidated and crappy, okay? Or it'll be worth so much freaking money that they might have an opportunity come along, and I want them to be smart enough to know, okay, I'm going to drop this commercial building because I don't want to manage it anymore, or the city grew out of it, or there's so many factors in 40, 50 years from now that could make that property either less or more valuable. And hopefully along the way, they realize where it starts dropping, and then they cut it then. And then they go maybe put that equity into 10% into a business.
So for you, generational wealth is people, not money.
Absolutely.
And so, that goes back to like showing up for your kids and teaching them a work ethic. It's like, I'm not going to create so much money and so many controls. I like that, where it's like, I'm not going to create a system in which they can't break. Yeah. I'm going to create a system in which they can succeed.
Yeah, because any monetary system, you can't control it for 100 years. It'll be so different.
Can we like businesses? Yeah, great, and generational wealth is great. But I want to tangent back to something that I asked you to. I wanted your opinion on a long time ago. Yeah. And it was, and you can edit this out if she's uncomfortable with it, but your wife's smile. Yeah. Remember when I sent you that text? Yeah. And that's something I've thought about, and I look at and I see people, and people are more interesting to me than money. And So did you tell her that I said that?
Yeah.
And what was her response?
She just took it as a kind compliment.
Okay.
You know, which is good for her because we homeschool.
So
right?
to add context, when Mark was in Iceland, he was posting a lot of pictures with him and his wife, and she has braces, and she has a beautiful smile with or without braces. And I look at people and I sometimes wonder, for me, when somebody truly experiences joy, they show their teeth.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what our parents taught us, whatever. And so when I see people that don't show their teeth, I question their joy.
Yeah.
I question their happiness. And I'm just like, are they? And I want to know, because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are super happy, but in my research that I'm always doing, people who don't smile aren't truly happy. Yeah. And so your wife was smiling all the time, and I sent you a message and I was like, hey, your wife seems stoked, which speaks highly of you.
Yeah.
And so,
you know, it's funny, actually, now that I'm remembering that a little bit better, I'll tell you the conversation I did have with her, right? I shared that with her, right? And I was like, hey, this is one of my friends, you know, like he said this about you. I think it's really cool. And at first she was like, oh yeah, that's nice of him to say. And I, you know, made her feel good. And I was like, but I have a thing with her, right? Where she'll smile in pictures and she won't show her teeth because she's embarrassed of the braces. And so I go, this is a perfect example of how you need to just smile. You look, you know, maybe it's harsh. I'll be like, you look dumb when you just go, you know, and kind of like flatten your lips out across your face. It's like, show the joy.
And this goes back to interactions with everybody, relationship.
Yeah.
When we see people, we observe so much that we don't, our subconscious processes, because we've spent our whole life noticing people that don't maintain eye contact act a certain way. People that don't do this act a certain way. When people square up to me, this is instinctual confrontation. When people stand sideways, it's more of an open position, like reading body language. And we process it all on a subconscious level. Some people say, oh, I don't know why, but I just don't like that guy. And it's like, well, you think it's because he has poor eye contact, because he's shifty, because his body position, because he's this. Like, there's a lot that he's telling you in his body language. And so when people don't smile, we see it, and we're just like, our subconscious or conscious says, that's disingenuous.
Yeah.
And so when or I can feel your insecurity, or I can feel this.
Yeah.
And it's like, I might be totally wrong, but
no, I think that's exactly what it is when she doesn't smile with her teeth, because she's a girl, when she doesn't have her braces, it's a bright smile, right? It's a toothy smile. She looks like she's not happy, or you know, it's part of her insecurity coming out, as in maybe she's not feeling pretty because she has braces on, right? But it's also like, well, you don't look like you're having a good time. So like when all the friends are kind of smiling, you had this nice dinner, and then you take a picture, you know, say we take a picture at a restaurant, and you're like kind of doing the whole like closed lip thing. Then they look at that picture later and they go, oh, I thought Michelle was having a good time. And now the memory that we're going to look back at this on, she doesn't look like she's having a good time, you know?
Yeah.
And she's not like, you know, not like a browbeater over it or anything like that. It's just when I kind of noticed, right? But like, yeah, absolutely. When we were in Iceland, you know, she was really toothy grin. And she's actually been a lot more like that. Yeah, it's like, and you honestly look way more prettier when you just self-love. Show joy. Yeah.
It's, if somebody is gorgeous but doesn't love themselves, if objectively on the outside, symmetrical, whatever, blah, 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 societal, like a pretty person, but they don't feel it, then it's noticed.
Yeah.
But if somebody who, you know, isn't stereotypically an attractive person, but they love themselves, you see it and you feel it. And it's like, yeah, like she might not be a 6-foot model, or I might not be, you know, a 6'4", you know, this, like maybe I got a little bit of weight. Maybe I'm a little this, maybe my face isn't perfectly symmetrical, but I love myself. That's felt and seen. Yeah. And your people around you are like, yeah, like that. I see your self-love, and I feel that makes me feel my self-love more. And so just sharing the smile. Like,
and that's where you get attracted.
Yeah.
You know, you're attracted to people who are happy, and that doesn't mean people are perfect either, right? Likable. Oh, absolutely likable.
You're attracted to people who are likable.
Yeah. Oh,
and
big time.
It's people, when I do the rope swing, people are like, your smile it's great. And I was like, I used to not like my smile.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I just thought for whatever reason. And I'm like, yeah, I love my smile. And it makes me likable for your book, which I'm now excited to read.
I can't wait to quote you.
And it's like, your smile is like your face. It's like, I'm looking you in the eye and I see your smile, and it's trustworthy. Yeah. It's a trustworthy smile. People who don't smile, I'm just like.
Yeah. Going back to attractiveness and kind of me studying it over time, right? I used to do it just against women, right? Like, what do I find attractive? Because like, I'll find a girl wildly attractive where one of my friends or someone up here would be like, well, she's okay. Like, she's not really my type, right? And I always thought, how the freak can you not think this girl is gorgeous? Because I think she's so pretty. You know?
I mean, so I was hanging out with a friend, and we were out at a bar, and he's like, I don't know what it is. I just find short blondes just so beautiful. And I was like, do you want me to tell you why? And he's like, well, yeah. I was like, you might not appreciate it. And he's like, well, what? And I was like, well, I mean, let me guess. Your mom's probably pretty short. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, is she a blonde? And he's like, oh shit.
Yeah, I hate you.
And it's the Oedipus complex. Which is fine. Like, my mom's a brunette, and I like brunettes. Like, but the more that I become aware of that, it's like why? It's just a skin. And that, like, attractiveness is like, and that goes back to what I was saying, is like, is a beautiful woman that doesn't love herself is unattractive.
Oh, absolutely.
And I hate to, like, a man that is, isn't stereotypical, but has confidence is attractive.
Oh, absolutely.
And so it's like, it's personality. And I worked at a bar for a long time, and there was like beautiful women all over the place. And I was just like, cool. Like, I don't want to make a t-shirt, and I should probably just make one, but I probably wouldn't even wear it, but it might sell. That says, you're pretty. Is that your only trick?
Yeah.
Like, you're good looking. What else? I need more. And the more I grow up, the more I'm just like, I would rather be able to have a conversation like this than to have a trophy wife.
Oh, for sure. Well, and that's another thing and that's kind of part of my conclusion with it too, right? Is it's like, and that goes, it's almost genderless, right? Pretty, whatever you want to call it, right? Because it's like, you have got to have some substance. And I think what I found over time is I'm attracted to a certain intellect level / ability to have a conversation. Even if I don't agree with you, you just need to, it's not about me agreeing with every single thing you say, but I've been around some girls that, at the start, to my eyes were actually, let's just say they were a 9, right? I'm not talking about anyone in particular. And then I found out they're a bitch and they're kind of dumb. And my mind changes them to a 6, 5, or 4, like that, where I'm like, I don't know, her ears are weird and her eyes don't really, I mean, it's almost to the point where I'm like, because her personality is ugly, my mind is literally like changing her face.
Right.
Almost like, it's like the truth. You know what I mean? I'm not just doing it like, it's like, I don't like that. And then but then I get around, I actually like women who can sing. Right. I think a beautiful voice just makes you more attractive. You can go from a 5 to a 7 real quick if you rip out a nice song for me.
Was your mom a good singer?
She's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Do we want to go down there? No, I mean, she has a nice enough voice, but my wife has a really nice voice, but she doesn't have any confidence in it. So she wouldn't like stand up and just like sing a song. But like, I actually always joke with my wife. I'm like, I want to go out of this life in a bed, real old, dying of some weird disease with you just singing me out of the thing.
I mean, with this recording studio, have you ever brought her in here and had her just like belt out some songs?
No, she's going to be my 100th guest.
Get her to sing, but do it. I mean, maybe get her in a situation where it's like, honey, I promise I will be the only one that will ever listen to this.
Yeah. Oh, she's not that shy. She would probably, we've sang, like I play guitar and play the piano a little bit. Cool. She plays the piano real well. And so like we've done like Shallow at the house. I can't sing. Right. I don't even care. I like to sing though, but I'll just, rip it out, right? Whatever. And like she'd be like around the kids and stuff, she's gonna do it. I'm just saying she like wouldn't stand up in front of church per se, and just like sing a song. But yeah, no, it's interesting to me, right? Because if there's certain things in people's personality, like they got to be kind kind is a big thing to me.
What's the difference between kind and nice?
Nice, you're almost unaware and it's more internal. Kind is very external. Like to be kind requires action. Like you need to actually be kind to somebody.
Right. For me, nice is safe and disingenuous. Nice is, I'm not going to tell you that you have a zit on your face because I don't want you to feel insecure.
Right.
Kind is saying, hey, I want you have a zit on your face.
Yeah.
Because I want you to like be real.
Yeah.
Like nice is like, there's a book that I read that taught me a lot. I don't feel like it applied directly to me because of my upbringing, but it's called No More Mr. Nice Guy. Mm-hmm. And it talks a lot about nice being like almost manipulative.
Yeah.
Where kind is just like, hey, like I care.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're kind of saying the same thing. I think I've never really broken it down per se, I guess. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would totally agree in the fact that nice is just kind of like, like really internal, I guess, kind of what I was saying. Right. And then, cause kindness is different, right? It's when you're so aware of what's going on with somebody that you could go, I think they're struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
Like even last night I was talking to one of my friends on Marco Polo. I love Marco Polo, right? Because if I have a thought, I just pop it off, and then whenever they reply, you know what I mean? Yeah. And we were kind of going back and forth, and then at the end of the day, I was coming home from basketball, and I was kind of reflecting on what she was saying earlier, and she just kind of seemed down, and I just kind of hit her back. I was like, hey, I feel like you're down, so when you get this, I want you to be real honest with me and tell me what's actually going on with you, because I can tell you're down. Anyway, she spent all night in the ER with her kid. So when I got up this morning, she had like hit me back. She's like, yeah, my kid was sick and I was like really, really worried and like all this kind of stuff is going on. And now I had to take an ambulance ride to the hospital. She's actually at Timpanogos. I'm going to go see her after this. Okay. And it's like, she's a single mom and like all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh dude, it's kind of weird that I was like really in tune with like that you're down right now, being a single mom, that's freaking hard stuff.
I was raised
actually anything outside of the marriage is hard.
I was raised by that.
Yeah.
7 kids.
7 kids?
Youngest of 7, single mom.
Dang.
She did the best. She did the best she could. Yeah. And she like through whatever struggles I've been through or my siblings have been through, like we're okay. Yeah. But she had a lot on her plate. Yeah. And so I have a deep compassion. Yeah. For what it's like. It's one of my favorite quotes is mother is the name for God on the lips and hearts of all children. And it goes back towards the compassion I have for children and parents. Is like you signed up for the biggest thing you can ever do in your life is raise another human being. I don't care if you invent this or do this or whatever, but if you raise a human from scratch, especially the woman, like you said earlier, the disconnect from the father to the child is apparent, but for the woman, it's like, that's it.
Yeah. It's like built in, right?
Yeah. Built in. They built it inside them.
Yeah. We helped at the very start.
We gave them a very small, stupid cell. Yeah. And they're like, cool, thanks. I'll take it from here.
And we know what we did. That's why we joke about it. It wasn't much. Kind of self-serving, really. You know? Yeah. But no, yeah. I mean, raising kids, and it's fun, man. It's fun and it's kind of hard, but it's also really easy at some point. So it's everything, right? It's just everything.
With how you kind of intuited your friend's mindset. Have you done that do you do that sometimes with your kids?
I do it all the time with everybody.
Yeah. With everybody. Yeah. I did like, and then I messaged some girl and I was like, hey, are you good? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. I just felt something and I don't know what it is. It could be my own projection, but it's like, I've tried to become more aware of when I ask people how they're doing, because it should be a longer conversation than just, I'm good. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, why? What's good? Yeah. Or, I'm okay. It's like, well, what's up? And that goes back to connection and stuff. So.
See, I learned a long time ago, most of the things I've learned through dumb luck, right? Not that I'm some wise monk walking around, but I just go with my gut all the time.
Yeah.
Like, you got to knock me off my horse real hard for me not to just get back up and go with my gut. And that goes for business, that goes for family, that goes for all sorts of stuff. Because my philosophy in life is I'm going to go with my gut no matter what. And if I'm wrong, I will quickly fix it.
Well, and I learn. It's like, I'm going to go with my gut, because if I don't, then I'll question, well, what if I had, and what if this? And it's like, if I trust my gut myself, if I listen to the still small voice, then, and that voice is wrong, then I can be like, okay, we need to fix that. But if I don't listen, then I haven't really learned.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like that.
And all the stuff you learned, if you're not going to go with your gut, goes to waste.
Yeah.
That is what it's for.
We're to programming our gut.
Yeah.
Our, and we say gut, but it's like, gut is just a simplistic word for our entire conscious awareness.
Yeah.
That's seeing, hearing, feeling, how we interact and show up for people. Going with the gut. I like it.
It's fun. Well, yeah, and even your consciousness, right? It's like, you can think and you can learn, you can have all these things in your head. The gut's kind of like the action.
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
To me.
It's the manifestation of all of that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is what my body's telling me.
It's almost like taking your confidence, right? You look at someone, you go, man, that guy's really confident. And it's like, yeah, so he's very convicted in what he does and says, and he just does it.
Yeah.
You know, we just act.
He just jumps off a cliff.
Yeah. Yeah. Just jumps off a cliff. Or even, I mean, and that's fun too, but almost going back, really, it's like, but I'll look at somebody and then take the moment to be like last night, for example, playing basketball, right? And it's been a minute since I played. Wouldn't say I was real stellar last night, but I've been a decent basketball player in my life. There's a younger kid, probably late 20s, right? He's a bigger kid, and he keeps on letting this guy push him off as he kind of like hook shots it in, right? Of course, he's bricking every flipping shot because he's not into it, right?
But he's still getting the shot.
He's getting the shot off, right?
Still letting him do it.
Yeah, but I mean, kind of pushing into him, you know, kind of, it's not, and he's on my team, so it's not really working very well. So I look at that, instead of like me yelling at him and coaching him, right? We end up winning the game. I go over to him after, right? And I said, hey, I said, you know, you got a big body, right? And he's like, yeah, not as big as yours, you know, like kind of being friendly because we don't talk all that much. I barely know him.
Well, and also, was he? No.
Yeah, he's kind of playing down low, right? So then I say to him, I go, hey, don't fade away from the hoop. Okay. When he bumps you, bump with him. If you got to bump 1 or 2 times, that's fine. But as you're bumping, you're not just banging into his body. You're positioning your body for an easy shot. So bump, and then hit it off the glass. Right. I was like, that's it, man. Nothing big, but I'm telling you, you get a lot more shots in if you do that. Well, lo and behold, start smashing every team we play after that, because he's just
leaning into it.
Yeah, he's not leaning back and bricking it off the thing. He's just kind of standing where he would normally shoot, and he's just putting his normal shot in, you know? And see, I look at that as in, I could have gone the whole night and not said a word to him, right? And it's not as big a deal as it sounds, right? Because he, you know, made a couple more shots. We ended up kind of winning really nice, right? But then he had a nice interaction with me more than anything.
Sure.
He's like, oh, this guy that everyone kind of likes. Because, you know, I've been playing with these guys for like 14 years, right? Almost everyone knows me there, even though I've been gone for a while. So I'm high-fiving everyone we come in, like, oh, welcome back, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, oh, the guy that everyone kind of likes kind of took a short, sweet moment with me and was just like, hey, you know, it'd be a little bit better if you did this, you know? And it wasn't like coachy, it wasn't yelly, it wasn't like you're not pulling your weight. It was just kind of kind and yeah, making it happen, right? And so to me, that's kind of like what I mean by being a confident and kind person is such an actionable thing.
Likable.
Yeah. Yeah. And you end up being likable. And part of being likable, it qualifies you to have moments like that too.
Right. Because if you weren't doing it's a total package thing. If you weren't doing all the other things and you just came up and you were like, hey, da da da, and he's like, who are you? Yeah. Like your statement has no weight.
Right. Yeah.
And it's your how you show up is a series of every action prior to that moment.
Yeah.
And so be aware of the moments that lead you to that moment.
Yeah.
Because they're following through with you. Yeah. Sports is a unique thing.
Yeah.
Because it's a team and it's you're striving towards a certain goal, and how do you work together? And if 2 people aren't on the same page, and how are you going to accomplish the mission?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Same with life.
Yeah. And that's the teams we put ourselves around, and the passion of the people we surround ourselves with. Yeah.
Makes life good.
Yeah. I love it.
It's funny. I almost think as we're talking, I'm kind of envisioning people listening to this, right? And I'm all, 17 people that listen to my podcast, right?
18.
18. That's right. It's 18. And we've spoke about a lot of really, really good things today. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is, you can dismiss a lot of what we're saying and go get in a book and kind of read about some financial crap or like some other goal you have. But I think the real point of what kind of you and I have been discussing all day is it's like, be present and aware in your life. And the more times that you're present and aware, you're going to get better and better and better at almost every facet of life. You'll be kinder. You'll find more fulfillment. You'll find more happiness. And your life will be better if you can just be present.
Right.
And so don't get rid of all the insecurities and the fear and all this kind of stuff. Just go out there and live. Just go have some fun.
Get rid of them it's see them for what they are. And this goes back to that moment before the cliff. It's like when we're born, we have love, pure. We don't even know what not love is, because we're coming from a super safe, warm environment. We go out, we're coddled, we're fed, we're this. Our mom is there. Everything is. We reach our hand out, and love is received. And progressively through life, we reach our hand out, and it's slapped away. Yeah. And that is a wall we build up, and that is a program that we're given. And when you feel your body resisting something that is good for you or could be love, it's old programs that are stopping that love. And when you see that, and those are your fears, say, thank you. You served your purpose. I got this. I'm going to stop being afraid. I'm going to start rolling the dice and putting myself in a vulnerable position, because I want connection. I want love. I want to be safe. I want to be likable. I want to be present in this moment and not have all this old baggage preventing me from enjoying it, preventing me from jumping off the cliff, preventing me from jumping into the cold water, preventing me from smiling, preventing me from just smiling. Yeah. We're like, there's all of this old baggage is preventing us from just smiling. And it's like being present and being connected is the reason that we're not doing that, is because there was something in our past that said, don't do that. And it's like, don't listen to that. Like, hear it and say, at one point you were right, but right now I'm going to roll the dice and I'm going to smile and I'm going to put myself out there. And if somebody outside of me doesn't like my smile, that's their own shit.
Yeah.
So just be present. Like you were saying, be likable. Present people are likable.
Absolutely.
You can't just be present. I love it.
Well, I was normally going to ask people for their best 2 minutes of advice, but I think we just got it.
Oh, yeah. When you said that at the beginning of the conversation, I was like, shit, what's my best 2 minutes of advice? And I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
That just came out.
No, I love it. No, it's funny in these podcasts, right? Because I have no agenda. I love. I just like getting in here and just talking with people and getting to know. I mean, who would have thought we would have been talking about this stuff all day?
Yeah. I'm stoked.
Yeah.
I was curious because I listened to some of your other stuff and I'm like, I'm not really like a business owner or like a financial leader or, an ex-athlete.
Yeah.
I'm just some dude who happened to be standing on a cliff.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, doing good work in the world, man.
I love it.
So hopefully I can do more and more of that every day.
Dude, it's my friend Carl said the way that you show up on that cliff is partly how you show up in life.
Oh yeah.
And I think about that a lot, because I hesitate. I used to hesitate, and I might hesitate again in the future, to where like I've stepped up on that cliff and been like, I don't know. I'm like all that fear that is just saying, you don't have to, you don't need to, don't do it. You're like, what's going on? And stepping up and just being like, you got this. Like, you're going to be okay.
Yeah. I think if I did it again, I would, because the anxiety of what actually happens is all gone. I know what actually happens. I think I'd actually stand at the edge,
soak it up
for probably a minute and just soak it up. And just be like, you're about to be scared again. You're about to have a rush again. You're about to think something you've never thought before. One last thing before we end, I'll tell you about it. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but when the rope caught me and I started swinging, right, you get this overwhelming like sense of like, to me, I should say, I get an overwhelming sense of like serenity, right? Because then it becomes very quiet.
Oh, it's
right on the way up.
Yeah.
And as I'm going up, because I'm not scared to cry. I'll freaking cry whenever I feel like it, right? And I remember thinking, okay, I felt the need to cry. And I was like, oh, this is okay, cool. I'm like, almost just like, okay, go. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I just, boom, stopped, like ripped out of it like into a different universe. And I orally said, I am proud of you. And then I started like actually coming back, right? And I was like, why did I say that?
Yeah.
And it was like a confirmation moment for me where, because I don't allow myself to be proud of myself because I'm always have to be on, right?
You earlier you said you don't get a lot of people telling you that you're proud of yourself.
No, never. Almost never. My parents don't really do it.
Yeah.
Every now and again, maybe.
It's surprising how many people don't hear that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. My wife tells it to me a lot. She's the one, she's real good. Yeah. She's my definition of a perfect person.
From my limited external opinion, you did a good job. You got lucky.
Yeah. Way lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can go on and on about how lucky I got. We got married at 22 and 23. Like Jeez. Crazy. But anyhow, we got to wrap it up. But yeah, man, thanks for coming on.
At the end of the rope, you said, I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I just said I'm proud of me. And that just soaked in, man. It made me happy.
Good.
And I just let it be. Yeah. So I guess, kind of go back. I think if I was to jump again, I would just try and just enjoy every millisecond of doing it again. And it would just be me, right? That's the thing that's cool about it too. It's just you, right? I mean, there's other people, obviously.
You're very alone at the bottom of that rope.
Yeah.
There's a lot of truth down there.
Yeah.
And I love that happened for you.
Yeah.
Because I'm proud of you.
Hey, thanks.
Proud of you.
Thank you, my friend.
Tell us, hey, when's the last time you told somebody you were proud of them?
I do it a lot.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I do it a lot.
People need to hear it.
Yeah. I think I might do it more.
We're all doing hard shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to do more of that. Well, my friend, thank you for coming on. This has been awesome.
Dude, thanks for having me. I didn't know what to expect. And
this honestly might be one of my favorite podcasts I've ever done. Yeah. I'm dead serious. I'm just going to, let's just say what we mean.
Thank you.
It's one of my favorite. So thanks for coming on.
Are you proud of me?
I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
I'm proud of you making me look good. Yeah.
Hey.
No, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the President McCormack Podcast, brought to you by McCormack Foundation, Saxton Fund, ADP Lemco, and Professional Floor Systems. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and keep up with Mark on Instagram @President McCormack.